it really is incumbent upon all of us to try and help people to join PSI and join the PSI family to get up to speed as quickly as they can in terms of what we do and how we do it. And the people department and the management team has a responsibility for induction and things like that. But really, you know this from your own experience, the way you learn is because somebody takes you under their wing or helps you understand a process or walks you through something that you've read about or heard about but never really experienced. So I just want to remind all of you that we're all responsible for the induction of our colleagues, and there's a constant flow of people. I'm going to talk about a couple of themes today, and then my colleagues are also going to talk about things that are important or of interest to them, and we hope to you as well. Kim's going to talk about changes and we think improvements to our audit process. Sally's going to talk about the external affairs strategic plan. And Peter's going to talk about 2011 from the perspective of operations. That is, the regions, the RDs, and fundamentally the platforms through which we do all of our work. And then we'll have plenty of time for Q&A after that. I want to say, well, the year isn't new anymore, since we're already at the end of April, but I'm very optimistic about 2011. I'm optimistic because I think we are making progress in terms of our audit challenges, and Kim will talk a little bit more about that. I'm optimistic because we still have robust revenue, and our perspectives in terms of meeting our strategic plan objective of doubling our health impact this year are within our grasp. Now, a lot of that's going to depend on what happens in 3 countries, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Cameroon, and in the Democratic Republic of Congo, because of big net distribution campaigns that are underway there. And none of those places is easy to work in, and each of them has unique challenges. But if things go the way we hope they're going to go in those 3 countries, we have a good shot at meeting our objective of doubling our health impact in 2011.
You just gave Peter's speech.
He'll get it more entertaining when his 5 minutes come. This morning I was at the Peace Corps headquarters around the corner, because Peace Corps was doing an event to celebrate World Malaria Day, which actually was yesterday. And the administrator of USAID was there, and Admiral Ziemer, the head of the President's Malaria Initiative, was there, and there were lots of other people of note, including Michael Gerson, somebody that you can read very frequently in the Washington Post. And Aaron Williams, the director of the Peace Corps, was standing up and talking about all the partners, the way that Peace Corps is now partnering with USAID to try and really ramp up the U.S. government's efforts against malaria in Africa. And the only implementing partner he talked about was PSI. On Friday I'm going to New York, and among other things I'm going to have a meeting at UNFPA, because a couple of weeks ago I got a call from the executive director of UNFPA, the head of UNFPA, who was in Nairobi then, saying, gee, I really want to talk to PSI about how we can work together to emphasize the double protection effect of condoms. We got an email this week from Kim about some scholarly publications that a lot of PSIers were involved with. A number of people in this room, and there was a bigger delegation actually, was at the World Social Marketing Conference a couple of weeks ago in Dublin. And I believe there was a PSI CR who actually gave the closing speech at that conference. I was in Haiti last week, where one of the things that our colleagues at the platform are doing are taking over a big global fund malaria net distribution campaign, because it was in danger of failing, and the Global Fund asked us to take it over. These are just some examples of the fact that I think our reputation externally is strong. Our brand equity is high. And you should be very proud of what you're doing, because I'm very proud of what you're doing. So, round of applause. We had a briefing, the executive team had a briefing this morning from Reed and from David Reen about something that we've called B2B. It's a research effort around what we call the business-to-business relationship between platforms and the center, or headquarters, or Washington, or global services. All of us have a name that varies depending on who's talking about us. But that relationship between platforms and the center, which is so crucial to our ability to succeed in our work, but which also is sometimes troubled. And all of you know this from your own interactions with the field, and I certainly know it. So we have a B2B process underway to try and understand through some really focused research and interviews with people in the field, host country nationals and international staff, about how that relationship could be better, what are the sources of tension, how can we work to remove those sources of tension. That's sort of the first half of the conversation. The second half of the conversation will be when we have that same in-depth research with people here, understanding what are the sources of miscommunication and frustration between us and the field from the perspective of headquarters. And the reason we want to do that is because we want to better understand this relationship. And we know that the more we get mired in the sort of miscommunication problems and the challenges that come with having so many people trying to do so much good work, but sometimes stepping on each other's toes, you know, when that becomes a factor in the relationship between the field and the center, then we suffer in terms of our ability to do good work for the people we're trying to serve. So B2B, you'll hear more about that, and we're going to talk about that also at the regional retreats that are coming up starting next week. But I just want you to be aware that we've been looking at the B2B process and trying to figure out how to make sure the relationship between the center and the field works even better than it does. I want to thank you and congratulate all of you for the success that I think we had. And I don't think this is really working. The success that we had in